If you're someone that runs ads on Meta on a consistent basis, or you just want to learn more about how to actually run ad campaigns on Meta and how to analyze data to get the best possible ad performance, then you're in the right place. Because in this video, I'm going to be breaking down exactly how you can analyze data inside of your ad campaigns to learn how to actually get the best possible results from running ads inside of Meta's platform. And look, I've been there. You open up Meta's platform, you're inside of Ads Manager, and it looks like you're in a fucking spaceship dashboard. You have no idea what you're doing. You're in a spaceship. There's a bunch of different buttons you can press. There's settings you can change. You've got no clue what you're doing. And that's why I'm here to help, because it can be very confusing, especially if you're a beginner. So there's lots to learn. There's lots to improve on, and you can only get better and better the more you do it. But this video would definitely help with just knowing how to actually analyze data, so you know what changes to make inside of ad accounts and how to actually get the best possible performance. That's what we're here to do. So boys, let's go right into it. So first thing, you want to open up an ad account. Hopefully most of you know what an ad account looks like to start with, but if you don't, that's completely fine. But we're going to just run through the main basics on just what to start with, the main things you need to know. We can get more into detail about other pieces of data and metrics, which I'll still run through in this video, but we're also going to run through the main things that you kind of want to actually take into account and aim to achieve when running ads inside of Meta. First of all, what you want to do is you'll see this column section here. Now, most of the time it'll start on performance, so it'll look something like this, but what you want to do is you want to change this always to performance and clicks, because this will give you a better understanding about how well the campaign is actually performing. So first things you'll probably see inside of the ad account, if you currently have a campaign running or you've run a campaign in the past, is you'll see the campaign name, you'll see delivery, so it'll either say active or off. Yeah, obviously if it's active, the campaign is live. If it's off, then it's not running. Some other similar things you might see is learning, which means the campaign is currently in the learning phase and Meta is trying to pick up as much data about who you're trying to target towards. So that's likely what you'll see in delivery. Now, if you come over to actions here, actions is been relatively new. It's been here for a little bit, but it's still a newer feature. This is where Meta gives you specific recommendations on how you can improve the campaign based on what they recommend, but also the different like AI enhancement settings, which honestly, you don't want to go towards that. What this means is it just gives you recommendations to optimize for the best performance based off of the AI recommendations. But honestly, you want to be in control of the campaign. You want to run it the way that you want to. I would never follow the AI enhancements or recommendations. Honestly, I find that they don't really perform that well. I would stick to doing everything manually, putting in the settings and putting in the specific targeting yourself, so then you can actually work out how you want to structure the campaign rather than just letting the AI do it for you. Next thing here, attribution settings. So it'll just be on 7-day. Just keep it on 7-day. This just means that Meta is trying to optimize for people that are the most likely to convert within 7 days, which is what you want to do, because if it's any longer, then no one's going to convert from the ads you're running. So just keep this on 7 days. Now you've got results. So with running ads, you'll have two different types of metrics. You'll have primary metrics and you'll have secondary metrics. So I want to quickly break down the primary metrics and the secondary metrics so you guys know exactly which one you should kind of try and aim for. Now, when running a Facebook ad campaign, you always want to aim to achieve the best possible primary metric. You always want to optimize for your primary metrics, which is going to be results. So leads, sales, ROAS. It's going to be, these are the metrics which are going to actually benefit you the most, because they're actually going to give you tangible results. So for example, on this campaign, it's a lead generation campaign. As you can see here, actually we're currently on 30-day, so let's change this to maximum. But as you can see here, 44 leads, right? So this is the result. The main purpose of this campaign, it's a lead generation campaign. So we're optimizing for leads. And that is the whole purpose of the ads we're running, is we're trying to generate leads, right? That's why it's a primary metric. Same thing with ROAS. ROAS, return on ad spend. This is also a primary metric because it gives us some sort of tangible result, right? So for example, ROAS, let's say for example, you put $1,000 into ads, and based on the clients that you have actually acquired due to running these ads, you've got $5,000 worth of clients. Well, your ROAS is 5x, right? And that's a very important metric to know, because you actually can change or tweak the ads based off what your ROAS is. So always the best two things to keep in mind. If you're running some sort of sales campaign and you're trying to advertise a product, then your main metric you'd be looking at there would be something like a cost per purchase. So how much it costs for someone to actually purchase your product based on how much you've spent on ads. But that should give you guys a pretty good example of what we're trying to do with the results. We're trying to optimize strictly for primary metrics, leads, purchases, ROAS. Obviously, it depends on what kind of campaign you're running, but those are going to be your main three. Now, if we scroll down to here, you might start to see some confusing numbers, but we'll run through a couple of things. So we'll go down. First thing is going to be reach. Now, reach is very straightforward. Reach is simply how many people have actually seen your ad, how many accounts have seen your ad. Now, I'm also going to run through impressions as well, because reach and impressions are kind of interlinked. So reach is how many accounts that your ad has actually hit, but impressions is how many times your ad has been seen. Now, some of you guys have probably just been doom scrolling on Instagram. You see an ad, then you probably get off your phone, hopefully go outside, maybe touch some grass, ass, and then you actually come back inside, go back on your phone, and then you see the same ad again. Now, this is exactly what impressions is. So impressions is how many times your ad has been seen, and reach is how many accounts have actually seen the ad. So if we're looking at this campaign in particular, you've got 4,780 reach, so 4,780 people have seen the ad, and then if you go to impressions, the ad has been seen 9,030 times. Now, these are all secondary metrics, which I'm going to get into more in just a moment, but this also leads to frequency. So reach, impressions, and frequency are all linked in together because frequency is simply just impressions divided by reach. And with frequency, a good target to try and aim for is going to be 2.5 or less because you want to make sure that someone is taking action on your ad instead of consistently seeing it and not doing anything about it. If your frequency is high, it just means that people are seeing your ad consistently. They're seeing it over and over again, but it's not really hitting the right target audience because they're not taking action and moving on to that next step, clicking the link to move forward. So as we can see here, we've got the impressions here, we've got the reach, and then we've got the frequency, which is 1.89. So that's within the KPI numbers, I would say. So like I mentioned, all those three tie in together. I want to get more into secondary metrics in just a moment, so then we know how we can kind of utilize secondary metrics to make tweaks to the ads, which is going to help improve the primary metrics. That's kind of the way that we can utilize both. So the result we're trying to aim for is leads, and simply cost per result is how much it costs to get the result that we're aiming for. So it's pretty simple. It's just simply the amount spent that was spent so far divided by the actual amount of leads that we've got, and that's what the cost per result is. So in this case, $318 divided by 44, $7.25 per lead. Now, obviously this one's pretty straightforward. Now, if you're running a lead generation campaign, which is the campaigns that I'm best at, that's what I run in particular, it doesn't really matter what your cost per lead is. It obviously does to an extent, but the main metric you always want to aim for, if you're trying to actually acquire clients for the client that you're working for, is going to be cost per book call. Because people have this massive thing about, oh, cost per lead, nigga, cost per lead, down, down, down. Like, yeah, okay, I get that. A low cost per lead can be good. But at the same time, if you're not putting qualified book calls onto your client's calendar, you're not really going to give them the chance to actually close any clients. Like, for example, cost per lead here is $7.25. That's quite low, which is good. But let's say, for example, out of these 44 leads that we've gotten so far, only 2 converted to bookings. Awesome, we've got those 44 leads, but then we've only got 2 bookings in. It's like you only kind of have 2 opportunities, like primary opportunities to close clients, because the other 42 leads haven't actually converted over to bookings. So to summarize, leads are important, but bookings on the calendar are always going to be more important. So optimize for bookings over leads. Okay, next thing, we're going to obviously budget. Budget's pretty simple. How much you're spending daily on ads. It's pretty straightforward. On this campaign, we're running it at $50 a day. Next thing, ends. So simply just when the campaign ends, you can put certain time frames on when you want a campaign to actually end. For example, the date today is February 2nd, but let's just say you want the campaign to finish in 2 weeks. So you just set the timer to February 16th if that's when you want the ads to actually commence. So let's say you want the ads to run for 2 weeks. So you would just put the setting on to February 16th because that's when you want the campaign to end. But in this case, this is just an ongoing campaign. We're running the campaign. We're seeing how it goes. There's not really any end date. That's why it says ongoing here. Now, next thing we have is CPM. So CPM is simply just cost per 1,000 impressions. So how much it costs for your ad to be seen 1,000 times on Instagram and Facebook. But you can use CPM alongside other secondary metrics, which can help you know what to kind of do inside the ad campaign, what to tweak in order to help improve the primary metrics. Now, obviously there's going to be people that have shops linked to their ads. In this case, there's no shop linked, which is why it's blank. And what we've also got as well, which is left blank, is landing page views and cost per landing page view. Now, this is left blank, likely because we're running to lead form, which means we're not directing people from the ad straight to a landing page. They're filling out a lead form first. Likely Meta's kind of getting lost in this process and not really working out how many landing page views we've got, because it's definitely not 0. It's going to be more. So sometimes Meta's platform can be like, I don't know how many landing page views there are, which is a bit annoying, which is obviously why cost per landing page view is going to be left blank as well. Now, link clicks. Link clicks is simply how many people have seen the ad and clicked on the link to go to the next step. So for example, when you see an ad, you're probably scrolling, you see an ad, and then you see something at the bottom. It might say something like learn more, sign up, download now. It's like a call to action in that place where you can actually click the link. That is a link click because that leads to the next step. But clicks, on the other hand, is simply just any click on the screen. So like, for example, if someone's running a carousel ad where they can slide through it, that's a click, right? So like all clicks inside of like actually analyzing data is pretty useless because it doesn't really mean anything. Like if you're scrolling through a carousel or you've turned off the volume on a video ad, like that counts as a click, and it's not really going to give us much important data which we can actually utilize. But link clicks is important. We want to know how many link clicks we have got, and then we can work out different things. For example, we can work out of the link clicks how many people actually opted in as leads. So for example, we had 151 link clicks and we had 44 leads. So we can work out that the amount of people that actually opted in as a lead once they clicked on the link is probably just below 30%. And for example, if that percentage is really low, let's say for example that we have 500 link clicks, but we've still got those 44 leads, as you can see here, that means there's probably something that we need to tweak on the actual lead form to ensure that more people are entering their information and going through the full form. So we're actually getting a higher result from the campaign. The next metric we have is pretty straightforward: cost per link click. So how much you're actually paying for someone to see your ad and click on that link. And again, pretty much a secondary metric. This metric isn't really going to help us make drastic changes to the ad campaign based off the number that it is. Now we have link click-through rate. Now I'm about to run over this, and I'm also going to pair it with another metric in just a second to show how you can make specific changes to your ads based off of those secondary metrics. So let's start with that link click-through rate. Now, link click-through rate is a good metric to know. Now, all it is impressions. So the amount of times your ad has been seen divided by link clicks. So in this case, we had 9,030 impressions divided by 151 link clicks, which leads to a 1.67% CTR. Now, general rule of thumb, you want to aim for 1% minimum. 1% is going to be the number that you want to try and aim for. I mean, I would recommend trying to get to 2% even. Like anything between 1 to 1.5 is good, but 2 is going to be great because that means 1 out of 50 times that your ad is being seen is converting to that next step. Now, this is where we're going to go a little bit more into detail with the actual metrics and data so you can make a change to the ads in the campaign based off of secondary metrics. Now, what you want to do is you want to come to the columns part here. As you can see, this currently says performance and clicks. Press onto this, and then you want to come down to the very bottom and press customize columns. This will load up, and this is where you can add different columns into your actual dashboard. So then you can actually look at more metrics, because Meta doesn't include every single metric onside the dashboard when you first open it, because there's tons of metrics on there. So the metric that we're going to search for, I've actually got it already here because it's been recently used. So it's 3-second video plays, the rate per impressions. So click on this, it'll pop up in the column selected here, and it's going to be the last column that appears on the dashboard. Press apply, and then if we scroll to the very end, there it is right there. So this metric is pretty straightforward. Simply 3-second video plays per how many times your ad has been seen. So your ad has appeared 9,030 times. That's the number of impressions. And this percentage of people that have watched minimum 3 seconds of the ad. Now, I like to refer to this as the hook rate, because it's simply just your hook. Like, how well is your hook going? How many people stay for longer and watch the rest of the ad depending on your hook? So the hook rate is 3.6% on this campaign. Actually isn't that good, to be fair. So a good hook rate is around 10%. You want at least 1 out of 10 people to watch the first 3 seconds of your ad for the hook to be considered an actual good hook. But in this case, not that great. But let's say, for example, the hook rate, so this metric here, is 10% and your click-through rate is 0.5%. So therefore, a lot of people are watching the first 3 seconds, but they're not actually taking action on clicking the link and moving forward to the next step. So simply, the ad is engaging, but the viewers aren't convinced enough to click. Likely in this case, it might be one of those ads where there's some guy about to throw a massive ice block onto a piece of concrete and it's about to shatter everywhere, and then that transitions into someone that's trying to explain what they do for their business. Like in that case, the hook rate is going to be so high because every single person out there wants to see that ice block hit the piece of concrete. It's always satisfying. But then there's a massive drop-off rate because it goes to some guy talking about how he can help your business out and generate you more leads or whatever. In this case, you would likely need to change your hook, because yes, you're bringing people in, people are hooked, right? That's the whole point of it, but they're not converting. They're not actually clicking on it, and they're not convinced enough about actually clicking on the link to go to the next step. And that's just one example, right? Like in that case, you know that your hook needs to be changed because yes, it's hooking people in, but at the same time, it's not converting people. It could also mean 2 other things as well. So let's say, for example, you do have that high hook rate and that low click-through rate. That could mean that you might just need to improve the value of your offer, or something else. Like you might just need more proof that you can actually deliver on your promise too. Or another example of pairing secondary metrics is something like, or having a high click-through rate. So probably something around 1.5%, which means 1.5% of people that have seen your ad have actually clicked through it, but having a low conversion rate. So the amount of people that have gone onto your site and haven't purchased anything off your site. This is good for e-com. So click-through rate is 1.5% and the conversion rate is something like 2%. Now this likely means your ad is performing very well, but your landing page or website is the problem. Because I mean, people are clicking through the ad like they're interested, but then they hit that landing page or website and they're not buying, they're not converting. Now in this case, maybe your landing page isn't congruent enough. There might be some unexpected fees on the website of the landing page, or you might just not have enough proof of results or reviews. So honestly, if there's any anything that I want you guys to just take away from this video, it would be this right here. Optimize for primary metrics, cost per lead, which is obviously linked with cost per book call, purchases, ROAS. And don't optimize for secondary metrics. CPM, cost per click, hook rate, click-through rate. Simply just use secondary metrics to understand what is going on and inform future ad creatives. So I hope this video gave you guys a little bit of a better understanding about how to actually track the metrics inside of your ad account, what numbers are important and what numbers you don't really need to worry about so much, primary metrics, secondary metrics, and how you can utilize those secondary metrics in order to actually improve your overall ad performance, which is going to help improve the primary metric numbers. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to have a quick one-on-one chat with me, I've got my calendar link in the description. Book in a free consultation call, you get a ton of free value, and I'll see you guys in the next video.